Mr. Merkich here, and today I'm going to show you how to create a very simple login system using PHP, MySQL, and we're going to interact with it with our Visual Basic form. So the reason I'm using like a PHP file to act as like a handler is because if you wanted to do it with the tool itself, you've got to include your connection credentials within the tool, and that can easily be displayed. So if we just use a PHP file to do the handling for us, then it's much more secure, as your password cannot be seen and stuff like that, and therefore there's no easy access to your database. So this is just a basic little login feature. It's not too advanced, and I'll leave it up to you to edit onto it as you wish, but I'll just show you the base. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and create the database. I've just got some free hosting here, which I use for tutorials and stuff, and I'm just going to create the new database, which I'll just call login. You can probably call it anything. Actually, because we're registering as well, I won't call it that. I'll call it tutor or tut. I'll just call it tut. And then we're going to generate a password and copy it, and we'll use that one, and I'll create it. So I'm just going to make a copy of that password somewhere here, and we'll wait for this to be created. So once that's done, we just want to open it and go into phpMyAdmin, and we're going to create a new table here, and we're just going to call it users, and then we'll create the user name, and then that'll be, we'll just have it as text, and we'll have a password. Now you could also have like an ID column and set it as auto increment and make it your primary key, but this is just very simple, and we're not going to be using IDs for anything in this video. So the username and password's fine, and make sure I don't forget to set that to text as well, and hit save. So now we've got that table set up. It's empty, nothing's in here, so now we can use it. We just had to get the table set up so we can use it. So now what we've got is we're going to use PHP for the handling. Now I've got a database file here, which for everything that I've sort of been lazy about, not that I'm being lazy, it's just to save time for the video. You can see you might have seen this earlier, which we will possibly use later on. I just copied it, and this database file here, I'll leave it all in the description for you, so it's easier for you as well. But what it is, we need to input our 4 credentials here, and now if we go to our hub, we've got it here. So the username is this, we'll give that a copy, and we just need to set that there, and our database name's the same as well, and our password is here. We'll just stick that in there like that, and then we just need our host, which is here. So we'll copy that as well and just stick our host in, and we'll save that file. So now this is the file we're going to use to interact with our database. We're going to use con, because con is a new instance of our connection. So con is short for connection. Now we're going to create the new file, and we'll just put in here the PHP tags, and we'll save it. We'll save it to our desktop as the handler. We'll save that as a PHP file. So the first thing we want to do is include our database file. So we'll include db.php like that, and that's just so we can use the con connection in here. So what we're going to get is we're going to get something called the action, and that's because what we're going to do is use this file for registering and logging in, and I'll call the action like that, and then we're going to have the username. That will be also a get, and we'll just call that username like that, and then we'll do the same for password. Get the password, just like that. Now we're going to use both of these because for either action, which we're going to have 2 actions, we're going to have registering and logging in. So for each one, we're going to need these 2 anyway. These 2 are relevant. So I'm just going to put an M there as I messed that up. What we're going to do, because we're putting this into sort of our database, what we can use is we can say con, and then we can use this little I don't know the correct term for it, but it's sort of like the right arrow. It looks like a right arrow. We can use the real underscore escape underscore string, because anything that we're checking the database with, or anything we're going to insert, we just want to make sure that we use the real escape string, and we can copy that, and we want to do the same for the password. Except for the password as well, we're going to have an extra layer of protection, which is going to be MD5. Now, some might say MD5 is not strong enough, whatever, but we're going to be doing more than MD5 as well. So that's that for the username and password. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to check. It's not really needed because we are personally giving the link whatever it needs. We can just say if not action. That basically means if action is in the link, we can just echo please enter an action or something like that, just to be sure, and then we can go else, and inside here you could go on and say if username's blank or whatever, but that was just an example. We know we're going to give it the value anyway, so we don't really need that check. What we do need to check though is what the action is equal to. So if the action is equal to let's say register, then we'll do all the registering stuff in here. Else if action is equal to login, we'll do the login stuff in there, and then we've got the final else, which will just be we'll echo invalid action, like that. So there's our two actions. Now for registering, all we're going to have to do is insert our data, these two here, into the database. Now we've only got two columns. If I open this one up, we've got the username and password, so we just need to insert into that. Now just by including this file, we can use the connection at any time. So what we're going to do for register is say we're going to use an if statement for this one, because we want to check if it did successfully insert. We can say if query, we'll call it query, is equal to con, and then we'll use that little arrow again, query, and then inside here we're going to say insert into our table name, which I called users, and we're going to do in brackets username and password. They're the two values we want to insert into, and then we can say values, another set of brackets, we'll say user name, put a comma here, and we'll do the same for password, just like that. And now because that's in an if statement, we just want to echo here. We'll use this like an error code. So error code number 1 will mean success. So if it's successfully inserted, give us the success code, and then if it didn't, we'll just echo number 0, which will mean failure. And then for login, it's a little bit different, because we want to not insert, we want to get it and check if it's actually there or there's a match. So for this one, we'll use query again. Query is equal to con query, and then this time we want to select, I guess we can select all from the users, and then we want to say where username is equal to username and password is equal to password. Now let's just make sure I didn't make a spelling mistake somewhere, because this is pretty crucial. If one thing's wrong, then the whole thing is not going to work. But it looks okay. So that'll be selecting from the database. Now you could use prepared statements for this, which would help prevent injection, but we're giving it the value anyway. To do that, you'll just use a question mark here and then bind the param below here. I suggest you looking up that because it's useful to know. And then the next thing we're going to do is we'll just make something called count, and that's going to be equal to our query. Use the arrow, we'll say num underscore rows, just like that, and that will count or the amount of rows in there, which should be 1 because there's only going to be 1 user obviously for that username. And then the reason we get the number of rows is because if it's equal to 1, that means there is a row with that information, so that means the user got the correct info and therefore we should log them in. So we'll say if count is more than 0, we just want to echo another error code which would be 1, else we'll echo a 0, like that. And to be honest, that's really it for this file. It's just a basic handler. So we'll save it and we'll go ahead and upload it into our file manager. I made a subfolder in here called login, and I'll upload my 2 files, which will be handler, and then I'll upload my other file which will be called the database. I'll upload those 2 files. Now before I go ahead and make the program side of things, I just want to go ahead and give it a test when everything's uploaded. So we'll go back, we want to open our handler up, and we should see please enter an action because there is no anything, so we can just say action. Because we've got no users, you can see I tested this earlier on, action, we got no users, so we'll register. And then the username I want to register is going to be equal to admin, and the password for that account is going to be password. So if I press enter, we've got an invalid action, spelled register wrong. Press enter now, and you can see we've got a number 1. So in our program we're going to read or look for a number 1, and then if we do, we know it's a success. So now if we go to our database and refresh it, we've got 1 row in here, and we've got admin, and this is an MD5 hash of the word password which we gave it. There you see it. So now if I were to change the action to login, keep the values the same, admin and password, because they're correct, press enter, and you see we've got a 1 because there's a match in the database. If I changed this by 1 or added on something, press enter, you can see we've got a 0 now because it's invalid, there's not a match. And that's giving it plain text. We'll give it a little bit more of encryption before, so there's double encryption. So that's our handler done, nice and easy. So now we can move over to this, and this is going to be borderline, very basic. We've got the login button, we'll have 2 text boxes, and you could have, just for the looks, we'll have a label. This one will be called username, copy that, this one will be called password. Now we'll just do a little bit of a line in here. Move that up. This one will be the login button. Make another one for register. Now you could have 2 separate forms for login and register, but I'm not going to bother with that. We'll just press register and it will use this information. So we'll just close this a little bit. So we're going to go into the form load. First thing we want to do is create a new web client, because that's what we're going to be using to get the strings, as new system.net.web client. And then what we want to do here is, in the login button, we want to say dim result as a string is equal to wclient.download the string, just like that. the string we want to download, wrong browser, we can copy this link here. We're going to use this string, except the actions login for this button. The username will delete the username, we'll make a split here and say ++, and now we can give it textbox1.text, and that's the username. And now same for password, we'll split it here, plus textbox2.text, just like that. Now we can go below here and say if result is equal to 1, then we want to display a message box, I guess. Message box.show logged in, else if result is equal to 0, message box.show invalid login information, something like that. Now here, if the result is equal to 1, which means success by the way, you want to do whatever. You want to log your user in, maybe display the form, display a new form here. I guess it's up to you what you want to do. If they got correct information, after all it's your program, your login system. This is just the base. So that's it for logging in. Now for registering, we basically can just copy that like so and put it here, except we want to change the action to register. Also, if is a success, we can just say successfully registered, just like that. Or we can say here there was an error, please try again, just like that. Now we can launch that up and we should just get this to work right away. You can see in the database, if I refresh it, there's still only one thing here. So if I open our new form and I'll say username YouTube, password is going to be YouTube as well, and we'll register. What's it doing? Seems like it's taken a while. Let's quickly see if it did insert. So there's something, this program seems to have frozen. So let me stop the debugging. Everything looks fine. Check these are the numbers. Number 1. Yeah, everything looks fine, I guess. Let's try again. The weird thing is, even this has sort of gone funny. Let's try logging in with our admin and password. So you can see there's 2 now. When I click that, it sort of goes blank, so I'm not too sure what the problem is with that. So we're logged in, obviously because we put the right information. Let's try registering that. Successfully registered, but for some reason my database has gone blank, so I can't actually show you it's inserted. But if we're successfully registered, we should be able to now log in, logged in, and we'll change that up. Successfully registered. Now we should be able to log in with that. Logged in. If I add on something else, yeah, so there we are, it's working. For some reason though, this has gone blank on me. I'm not too sure why that's gone blank. Anyway, the program does work. What you might want to do is what I was going to show you here in my text box or notepad, I've got some functions here to basically use base64 encrypting. So what you'll do with that is, I'll leave it in the description for you, this bit of code. You could put it in and you could encrypt. Let's say we're just putting the plain text here. You can use the function, I think it's encrypt, and you'd wrap it in there, and you're inserting an encrypted base64 string as the password, which will then get MD5'd on the PHP handler side of things, if that makes sense. So therefore it's a double encryption. You're not MD5 in plain text, you're MD5 in an encrypted string. Although base64 encrypting is not very secure at all, it's better than encrypting plain text. So that's a little tip, I guess, if you wanted to do that. So I'm sorry if the tutorial was kind of long, or some things didn't make sense. If there is any problems with it, you can either add me on Skype or just leave a comment and I'll try to get back to you. I'll probably leave the project files in the description, although my database login files I will remove, so please make your own. This will not work after this video, as I'm going to delete it. So that's pretty much it for the video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, please be sure to leave a like and a comment, and I'll see you next time.